Hi guys, this is Red Vader, and we're going to be talking about a little bit of Grixis Delver. This Delver list has been updated since the Grand Prix Charlotte last weekend, and made a few main deck changes, a little bit of sideboard. Thought I'll talk to you guys about it. So, creature package, it's the standard list: 4 Delver, 2 Gurmag, 3 Snapcaster, 2 Tasigur, 3 Young Pyromancer. Delver Secrets has been proving itself to be a little bit less than powerful nowadays. However, it's still strong against combo decks and decks without Lightning Bolt. So I feel in those decks, whenever we face against like decks like Amulet Bloom or Goryo's Vengeance, that one's been popping up a lot now, Delver Secrets is a great card. But normally, nowadays, I've been starting to sideboard it out. Gurmag Angler, everyone knows why this is in. It's just to kill Tassigurs, Goyves, Rhinos, etc. etc. Snapcaster Mage, it's a great card, a great combo with Kolaghan's Command, Lightning Bolt. Don't know why you wouldn't run it. Tassiger, just a 2 of because legendary creature rule, and it would suck just to have 2 in hand, but it's always nice to have more than 1 just in case if 1 does die. Young Pyromancer just as a 3 of because he has the capability of taking over the game, and nowadays is having a large amount of creatures on the board to either clog up the battlefield or just being able to get value off of your Serum Visions or Taxian Probes could mean game between you and Jund. We run 1 Deprive as a main deck counter spell. It's very strong against many decks. It's just really nice to have a 2 mana answer anything. The mana cost, in the additional cost to return a land is not too much of a problem for us since we run maximum of 4 lands in play necessary. 1 of Electrolyze, I bumped this down to 1 instead of 2 because there's a lot of decks nowadays that don't need to be hit by the spread damage. There's Elves that could be useful for it, but since it comes out turn 3 earliest, it's really hard for it to hit 2 targets if there's not like a Ezri out, or if there is an Elvish Archdruid or some other Anthem effect. So just going down to 1 of, so it's still good, draws a card, deals 2 damage, it's decent. 2 of Kolaghan's Command, just to be able to discard, reanimate, and then do it again with Snapcaster Mage. It's just really good. The decks I've been abusing this the most have been Jund and Twin, but we still have the capability of being able to abuse this just as much thanks to Snapcaster Mage. 4 of Lightning Bolt, basic kill, 1 mana kill something. Great against Infect, Delver. Not as strong nowadays against Twin or Jund. Still strong card to have. Perfect 4 of. Can be sideboarded out though. 2 of Mana Leak. Doing a 1-2 split from Deprive and Mana Leak. There's some deck lists that go 3 Mana Leak, no Deprive, 2 Deprive, 1 Mana Leak. But I feel having the 2 Mana Leaks, 1 Deprive is enough for the deck because we are a more aggro-based deck. So we want more of the early counter spells that are easier to cast rather than the Deprive. 1 Murderous Cut and 2 Terminate as a 3 kill spells, just straight up kill something. Great against Titan, Jund, Twin, just having an answer for something for either 1 or 2 mana. Remand is as a 2 of as additional counter suite. It's strong against flashback, large creatures, and mid-rangey decks. It can be sideboarded out against control decks due to the fact that it doesn't actually deal with other spells unless you remand your own spell. But since we are more of an aggro tempo deck, we don't want to be playing a control role against control. We want to be more of an aggro-based deck. Spell Snare hits all the important 2-drops like Tarmogoyf, Arcbound Ravager, Mana Leak, Deprive, Terminate, hits all the important things. If there's a 2 mana spell, Snare counters it. Terminate, 2 mana kill something. That's all you need. 4 Thought Scour, just because it's 1 blue for mill 3, well, put 3 cards in your graveyard, draw a card, which in this deck is equal to a Black Lotus draw card, like with Delve spells. So it is really good. It's instant speed, which helps us hold up counter magic and have us still be proactive if we have counter magic in our hand and our opponent decides not to play anything into it. Land suites, we have Blood Crypt as a 1-of, 2 of Steam Vents, and 1 of Water Grave as our 4 shock lands, just so then, no matter what kind of basic land that we have, plus a fetch land, we can always have 3 colors turn 2. 1 Darkslick Shores, 1 Sulphur Falls, just so then it's a less painful mana base. Sulphur Falls plus any of the shock lands lets it come in untapped. Darkslick Shores should always be played turn 3 or earlier. Afterwards, it's just a tap land, but the ability to be able to play it turn 1, play a Delver, or something else for turn 1 is really good. 2 islands, 1 mountain, 1 swamp, just basic lands that we can get off the fetch lands, and so that way we can be able to place Blood Moon on our sideboard. 4 Scalding Tarn, 4 Bloated Delta, 4 best fetch lands that we have in the deck. We go 3 Cataxian Probes and 4 Serum Visions as more of our cantrip suite. Serum Vision's the best of what we have, even though it's one of the worst cantrips that we have available. It's the best of the worst, is what I think, because it's only draw cards scry 2, and it's not scry 2 draw cards, so you won't be able to have total control of what you draw from Serum Visions. But Cataxian Probe plus Serum Visions, you get to Serum Visions first, then you get to scry 2, and if you have the need to get one of those cards right now, you can pay 2 life and draw it, and get to see what your opponent's doing. Now when we go to the sideboard, we have Engineered Explosives as a 1-of, just be able to deal with token strategies, enchantments that could be annoying, and it's just our widest answer that we can have, deal with anything converted mana cost 3 or less. Death Shadow is a nod to the burn decks and any other aggro matchups, because it is a very strong card, very potent against those kind of decks, and especially in the matchups where Bolt is a card that our opponent can use, we could bring in Death Shadow instead of Delver. And that way, the more damage they deal to us, Death Shadow gets bigger, and he can get out of Bolt range really quickly. 1 of Spellskite just to deal with Boggles, Infect, Twin. It's just a very versatile card. Can change the targets of spells and abilities. It's very useful. 1 of Vendilion Click, which is useful against combo decks and against Twin as well, where it's able to make sure that you have a strong clock, 3 mana 3/1 flash flying. It's a very powerful clock, plus the ability to pick a card out of your opponent's hand and bottom it, make them have a draw card that's probably going to be worse. It's going to be very good. It's able to keep your opponent off tempo, and especially against decks like Balloon Titan, you can be able to stop them from possibly going off that turn. 2 of Blood Moon deals with the hard to answer mana decks like Tron and Amulet Bloom. Also useful against Abzan, Jund at times, but you don't always want to be playing this card against Jund. Sometimes you might want to bring it in game 2 after sideboard, or if necessary game 3, take it out game 2. It's just like different ways you can play the game, messing with their head. 1 of Dispel, just a 1 mana counter spell for instance that your opponent can do in control decks against burn. It's the best instant counter spell that we have. Magma Spray, it's there for the deck to handle against Infect, the current rise of the company decks, including Elves and Abzan Company, and it's also useful against Affinity. Good 1 mana kill something and exile it. Negate, more hate for counter decks, combo, just be able to 2 mana counter something that's really strong. Slaughter Pact as a 1-of, strong against twin decks. Sometimes you could bring it against Jund, sometimes you can need an Abzan, but it's not always the best card against those matchups. But the ability to cast it for 0 mana, so then you could tap out, say, turn 3 against a twin deck. They feel like they're safe. They cast their Deceiver Exarch. Next turn, cast Splinter Twin, Slaughter Pact it for 0 mana, and you have a huge tempo swing. Overall strong card, and at worst, it's murder. 2 of Thoughtseize, more hate for the combo decks, for control. Just be able to take out your other best cards, then that way your other cards can resolve, or you can mess them up on their further plans. And lastly, we have one of Vandal Blast. People have been saying maybe using Shatterstorm as a one-up in the sideboard instead of Vandal Blast. I personally prefer Vandal Blast just because you can use it turn 1 and not have to worry about using it turn 5. Unlike Shatterstorm, where you have to use it turn 4 earliest. And also with Vandal Blast, you can snap it back with Snapcaster a lot easier than you can with Shatterstorm. Just being able to keep Affinity off tempo early on the game is the key to matchup. So I'm going to be doing about a few matchups, and I will post the results and record my observations during these games. So stay tuned, and I'll be back.